breaking news off the top this morning. We actually had a whole show planned, and then you get a commit and you have to revise some things. But it's always cool when we get to talk about a new guy on the show. We'll show you the commitment graphic here. Ryan Mosley, the 4-star athlete. Georgia's going to have him as a wide receiver out of Carrollton, Georgia. Now, he can play both ways. Listed as a wide receiver, what do you expect his role for Georgia to be, and what kind of separates his skill set from other athletes in the class?
Yeah, first of all, like that graphic, the Georgia creative team is still on its game for this cycle. But the one thing I don't think he can play is the electric guitar that's in that edit. But so he was initially rated as like an athlete for the services, and now he's kind of landed at wide receiver, Kaylee. But here's the intrigue here, and perhaps I think it's a nod to being very thrifty with your roster in terms of, you're going to add a player. Can this guy play both ways? Well, Ryan was legitimately, Kaylee, in a way that I really haven't heard before from a recruit, besides like the Travis Hunters of the world. But Georgia has a plan where he's been priority recruit. He's been a priority recruit for Tavares Robinson, the safeties coach, and also James Coley, the wide receivers coach. And here's the plan. The plan is for him to be a receiver primarily, but then on third down, nickel packages, basically what I refer to as when the offense is in deep water and has to throw it, they feel he can be a cover the whole field type rangy free safety. 6'4", 205 pounds. And that has been the pitch from Georgia to Ryan. And there's so many great things about this story, but that's the first thing you got to think about. This is a guy who is legitimately being recruited by both coaches, two different coaches on different sides of the ball at Georgia. And folks, just take a quick second here to think about this. This is a guy that Georgia deems good enough to be both a wide receiver and a safety in the SEC. You see these highlights here. He's playing for one of the biggest of big boy programs in the state of Georgia, and that is the Carrollton High Trojans.
Well, it's funny because whenever I saw the graphic go up this morning on our DawgNation socials, the first thing that I thought about was when you and I went to Nashville and we spoke with Jared Curtis, and he talked about one of the guys that he wanted to go get immediately was Ryan Mosley. So it makes me wonder, did Jared Curtis play any role in this, or has Ryan Mosley always kind of been tied to the Dogs?
I think he has. I think we can kind of talk about this now, Kaylee, Jared was trying to tout the company line without telling the company line what was going on. Ryan, according to my information, has been a silent for Georgia for kind of several months now, a couple of months now. And I guess the only intrigue left is, will he still take any other official visits? He took his official visit to Georgia for the scavenger hunt weekend. So Georgia got a cha-ching, or Georgia got a big boom out of that weekend already. But for him, he liked South Carolina. He liked Nebraska, Texas A&M, Alabama was also in the mix. And he told me after his official visit that I was like, hey, did the Dogs try to get you to shut it down? And he's like, yeah, they did. They would really like it if I shut it down. And he said, that's something I'm still really thinking about right now, whether or not he's going to shut it down. But he makes the public commitment. I believe that Jared already knew he would get to play with Ryan when he made those statements in Nashville, or he just heard from the coaches that that Ryan was really high up on the board and you should talk to him and help recruit him as well. But, Kaylee, this is one thing we try to keep all these things in perspective. We do these top targets each and every week, Kaylee. I believe Ryan Mosley's, since you're the caretaker of the top targets list these days, I believe he was number 4 that just came off the board, or was he number 5? So that's a big one for the Dogs today. Homegrown, home state dog, Ryan Mosley.
Well, as you mentioned, home state kid plays for an absolute power program in Carrollton, but that is one of the advantages that Georgia has with in-state kids, is that you've always kind of got that tie, or maybe their family rooted for Georgia growing up, or just simply the fact that you can be closer to them. But I think this picture that we're going to show you here on the screen is really great evidence of the advantages that Georgia's always had. If you're listening on our podcast, it is Ryan Mosley as a kid, which, by the way, he kind of also looks like a grown man in this picture.
Yeah, he does.
With a Herschel Walker jersey on. And so in looking at this, I think that you can kind of get a better sense of the love that Ryan Mosley's had for Georgia. We're going to let you listen to this clip from earlier this year, and I want you to pay attention to what he says about Kirby Smart here.
They say you can play some wide receiver, and then in third down, when they're in some deep water, you can go Like, what goes through your mind when they say you can do both like that, man?
I'll be like, it's crazy, being a big guy that can play a DB, a receiver, and just do your thing out there. That's being crazy, just being recruited by top schools to play both sides of the ball. Kind of love also.
What do you like best about Georgia? What sticks out?
I love Kirby. I love Kirby. I love the coaches, the environment, the fans, everything.
How would you describe your game, both sides of the ball?
A game being, I'd say DK Metcalf, being that guy that can run routes, run by you, go up, and just, getting the first down, getting the fourth down if I need it. So at safety, just being that guy that can cover half the field, whole field is needed. Being that guy that can come down and hit you.
It's crazy now because we're getting into these recruiting classes where a lot of these guys were just kids when Kirby Smart took over the Georgia program, and they've seen some of the more successful programs that Georgia's had under Kirby Smart. Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting that when you asked what he loved about Georgia, the first thing that he points to is Kirby Smart.
Just love Kirby, man. And first of all, I'm going to point to you, doubter, contrarian, out there about recruiting and NIL, and it's all the bag, and it's how much money. Kaylee made a great point. Most of these kids were probably 9 years old when Kirby took over at Georgia now, or 8 years old when he took over at Georgia in December of 2015. But when a guy says he loves Kirby, and when we know, according to our information, he's being prioritized by the Dogs, and then we can go back to this photo. Again, look at this, guys. I don't know whether this is a youth league photo or this is just he dressed up as Georgia because he had a Georgia outfit. Looks like it's youth league because he's got the pads on. He's got the Georgia G on his hip pocket, and he's also got his G underneath the neckline right there on the pads.
But his pants aren't dirty.
They aren't dirty. It's probably before the game because otherwise you could say nobody could catch or touch Ryan Mosley, and that's why his pants aren't dirty. But when Georgia starts losing recruits like that, ones that love Kirby and the ones that rock the G like that and grew up loving the Dogs, then we got a problem before the hedges. But until then, this is one of those I think we'll look back on as one of probably easily the 10 biggest commitments of this class.
Jeff really just went straight Uncle Sam mode on all of you guys. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our conversation on Georgia's latest commit, the 4-star wide receiver, Ryan Mosley. And in just a moment, we're going to go through all of the official visitors for this weekend at Georgia. It is a long list. We have so much to get to. But first, we want to remind you that here on Before the Hedges, we are brought to you by Kroger, and we are in that social season when I feel like there's something different going on every single weekend, and you need to be able to maximize your time, and you can do that by signing up for Kroger Boost. You can try it now free for 30 days, and with that, you can save up to $1,000 per year with 2 times the fuel points. And the thing that is the most beneficial, and once you do it, it's so hard to go back to the normal way of grocery shopping, you get that free grocery delivery so you can give more time back to yourself, and with Kroger, you can do that. So you can sign up right now at Kroger.com/boost. Again, that's Kroger.com/boost.